Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm Untitled, and today we have something very special. What do you mean? This is rogue, right? But I made both of these rogues. These are custom made rogues, but one of them is very special. That's because I made, yellow rogue, of course, yellow and green, classic Jim Lee 90s rogue. But also this one's from X-Men 97, or even the X-Men the animated series, but more specifically X-Men 97. We'll get into that. Rogue in her pink dress. But the thing that's about it that's special is that this is a normal action figure. This one is not. They're both made with Marvel Legends, but this one is not articulated. It is essentially a mini statue, or just a statue, a 12th scale statue. Basically, it does not articulate, but I still use Marvel Legends to make it. So we're going to talk about both of these a little bit at length. It's not terribly detailed. I don't want to go and make a super long video explaining the process, but this is the first time I've made a non-articulated figure, so I will talk about that. But we're going to first talk about the classic Jim Lee rogue and go into that detail right now. Now, first, the elephant in the room, although I will do a comparison later on. Why would I make this rogue if there's already rogue figures in this costume available? Like, why wouldn't I just buy one of those, or even modify one of those? Simply put, I don't like the body choice that Hasbro gave Rogue for this costume, because they only gave it to her in this costume. But if you look at all of the other Rogue figures that exist, she has completely different body from the basically, I'll just pull her out right now. This is the Moonstone body, the big thick curvy one, right? Yeah, it looks great, but I don't think that's Rogue's body in general. When I think of Rogue, I don't think of that body. I don't want to go into at length of how I feel about the Moonstone body. In general, I do like the body mold, but I just don't think it fits Rogue at all. So this is a little bit slimmer, but still very curvy, having to modify it here and there. But we'll go ahead and talk about all of that as we get to it, because we always start from the bottom and work our way up. So our feet are just standard feet. In fact, where is she? We got two things here. We have a lot of not paint rub. Sorry about the there we go. A lot of trying to avoid paint rub as much as possible. So there's a very selective and distinct parts that I've used. In general, these are just normal feet flats that they always have been, but they are not painted on the bottom. These are yellow in general, but I painted the tops. I want all of the yellows to match, but the bottom, I don't really care about the bottom, so we didn't paint that. Those feet, though, still come from a character that had yellow feet, which would be Darkstar. She had black lower legs, and then the feet themselves were yellow. So we stole those, and we're not using Rogue in particular for that, but you could if you wanted to. But we stole those from that Rogue, and then we took the lower legs from... Actually, where did we take those? Actually, those also came from Darkstar. Those were also yellow. So yeah, they were yellow feet, and then the lower legs were yellow, and then like the top part of the legs was painted black. So we removed the black from off of that part of the Darkstar legs, and that's what the legs are here. Now we still again painted this yellow because we want all of the yellows to match, and the yellow on the Darkstar is very light in comparison to other yellows, and then much lighter than the yellow that I used while painting this. So we used just those legs and the feet from Darkstar. Now we got the knees Yeah, we're going to go in that detail. The knees are not painted on the inside, but the outside are. But I still use the knees from off of Firestar, so that way I didn't have to Dremel anything down in the back there, and then we don't have to worry about painting on the inside of that. So all of this, these knees are on the inside, is not painted because we don't want paint rub, and it's good enough. It doesn't match perfectly to the yellow that I painted, but it's close enough for me, and that's all that I really care about. Yellow is yellow, and when it comes to interior parts and or whatever the color is, I don't need to be exact. Now back out. As far as the rest of this, like the boots and stuff goes, back on those rogues, which again I'm gonna pull this one out. It had these like loose little pieces for the boots, and we don't have that on ours. I sculpted that down on my custom here, so that's just a sculpted part, painted green, and then on the top part, instead of this loose piece as like you see here, I have a sculpted on piece as well, going all the way around. However, there's one mistake that I forgot. I was going off of memory and not using an actual reference. That sculpted piece from the front should also kind of mirror in the back side of it as well. It shouldn't be as high, but it should be there, and I completely messed that up. So it just has the green strap going across the back, but it should have some more yellow of the boots going up as well. So it was too late for me to fix that once I realized what happened. Oh well, I'm gonna live with it. I still think it turned out really, really nice. So, but other than that, the actual thighs themselves are bodysuit thighs that came off of the Black Widow Deadly Origin. Familiar phrase around here. But yeah, they're just Black Widow bodysuit thighs. You can use Jean Grey AOA. You can use Black Cat, whatever. It doesn't matter. But that's what I used there. Now, the torso itself, the upper and lower torso, are like the Medusa body mold, but in this case, because again we want to avoid paint rub, since it's yellow in here, I actually bought a Hellcat, the Hellcat body for this. So upper and lower torso are Hellcat body with the yellow pin in there, so the inside is not painted and we don't have to worry about paint rub at all. So you can just, all that is just not painted whatsoever, and that is the point. We don't want paint rub bad. As far as the rest of her goes, come on, focus for me. There we go. The rest of her goes, we still are going to use the same kind of accessories that the other Rogue has with the belt, because Hasbro uses belt often, and the jacket and the jacket arms. They came from this Dazzler. Well, not this belt, but it did come from a Dazzler. The belt, the jacket, and the jacket arms did come from retro carded Dazzler. Thank you for your sacrifice. However, that Dazzler does not have these buttons on the jacket. It actually doesn't have anything at all on the Dazzler. It's just jacket arms. And then the Rogue normally would have them painted on the whatever Target version or the original version. They're painted on. I didn't want them painted on, even though it is more accurate for them to be painted on. I think it looks cooler to have this more raised button thing on there. So those came from a Storm retro carded figure, because those are her buttons on her little thing that claps her cape down. So I was able to just glue those on there. And then forearms are from Dazzler and painted all that green and stuff. The cuffs on the figure actually do come from a Rogue figure. It comes from the original Hasbro, I believe it's a Juggernaut Marvel Legends wave, the Bath wave Rogue. The one with this head, this original Rogue. Those are those cuffs, but I did paint the outside of them yellow just like everything else so that it matches, and hands are just hands, open hands. Lastly, back to the face. Oh yeah, but before I move on, yes, her chest was enhanced. So normally Medusa, body mold, Hellcat, her breasts are not this size at all or shape. So she is enhanced up top here. As far as the face goes, we have actually a rogue head. This is the head that came with the Walgreens exclusive Mystique. It was like the morphing head, like it's half rogue, half Mystique, whatever. And we remove all that red paint and paint all over that stuff and all of that, and now we just have a regular rogue head. This was the head that I was using on my Savage Land rogue that I made many years ago, but I decided to scrap that and use that head on this particular rogue. Why? Savage Land Rogue is amazing. Why would you get rid of it? Because I already have Savage Land Rogue, and I said this a billion times before. You can see it. There she is. Nice. Coming in focus. Yeah, I already have that statue back there, so I don't need another Savage Land Rogue. That is a fantastic statue. So I decided to scrap it. And then the Savage Land Rogue was like super old, so it has a lot of issues and stuff. I could have remade it, but I decided to just move on and just keep my statue and then take that head and make this rogue. So she's more in line with how I see the character, as well as how more in line with the other depictions of rogue that I have as figures back there. But it's still the same head, same hair, but just updated with my current techniques and current paint skills and paint available. Went with the light brown hair. At least this is supposed to be light brown. It's still kind of regular brown, but yeah, there's the backside as well. She's rogue. Because of using that Medusa Hellcat body mold, this butt, in my opinion, is bigger than what a Kate Bishop butt would be. Like if it was on, because I was also debating putting her on this body instead of the Medusa, or the Hellcat, I should say. I was going to use this torso and those knees from Firestar, but this was available, and I still very much want her on this body, and I think it worked out really well. So yeah, and lastly, yellow and green. The yellows themselves are the Vallejo model color, flat yellow. The green is actually a throwback. It's been a while, but I still have some Model Masters acrylic paint laying around, and still have plenty of this green. The green is exactly what I want the color for her to look like. And then the yellow is just yellow, not too bright, not too dark. Gloss finish on everything except for the jacket. I didn't paint any of the jacket or the jacket arms or the belt. That's just how it comes on Dazzler. But all of the body and gloves and stuff are all glossed up. So it has a nice shine and sheen to it. Her face is just basic flesh tone. I forgot to paint pupils on her, so she doesn't have pupils. She just has her iris color. Headband is green because we are going for, I forgot to say, X-Men versus Street Fighter, the video game version of Rogue, not the animated series, not the comic books specifically. She has a green headband with no trail on it, like this one does. This is comic book, right, with the extra little bit of ribbon there. And then X-Men the animated series has a black headband, and then video game has a green headband. So that is what we're going for. That's why she looks this way. Now let's go ahead and move on and talk about that non-articulated figure. All right, now it's time to talk about this non-articulated Marvel Legends figure. So what do I mean by non-articulated? I mean that it cannot move. The arms and legs and stuff like that, it cannot be articulated, cannot be moved. Everything is glued into place. Everything has been sculpted onto or into or around to fill in gaps, to fill in holes, to make it solid as a one unit piece that cannot be taken apart, unless if you did, you'd be breaking it. So why do that? Why take that with Marvel Legends. They're supposed to be action figures. They look great. They work great. They're awesome. Yes, but I've been feeling this way for a little while. I actually had this idea to do this several years ago, and I never got around to actually doing it. But I've been saying a lot in recent videos how I might quit or I might move on and try to do other things, which I still have that feeling, but it was gonna come up a lot sooner than anticipated if things weren't working out the way that I wanted them to. And that is, I have characters that I've been wanting to make for a long time, and things aren't working out to get to them because I need to implement soft goods or find a way to sculpt something to where it doesn't hinder articulation or doesn't have paint rub. Those are the two things you have to avoid or try to avoid when making customs. Sometimes it's just impossible if you're going to make an articulated figure that has a long sash like flowing down their waist, or they have big bulky pants, baggy pants, or a dress or a skirt, or any of those sorts of things. Even hair get in the way. This kind of avoids all of that, and the only thing that there's like some parts that's very, very difficult to paint. We'll talk about that certainly, but in general, I've sculpted this dress on, so we'll talk about all of that. So yeah, this new method in trying to make more non-articulated figures out of Marvel Legends parts is a work in progress, but this one still turned out really, really great and is encouraging me to continue on to make things so that I can get around to those characters that I've been wanting to make for so long that would be problematic trying to use Marvel Legends body molds. So that being said, this is Rogue from X-Men 97 specifically because we have black gloves, because she did wear this same dress in the first episode of the animated series back in 1990 whatever, but she did not have gloves on when she wore that dress and she fought that Sentinel in the mall. And that's really the only difference. In X-Men 97, she had on black gloves, and I really liked the way they looked on her, so I went with that version with the black gloves. So one thing that is an issue with having to do non-articulated figures, you have to make sure that they are able to stand independently in whatever pose you put them into, or you're gonna have to use a action figure stand to keep them upright at all times, because especially with Hasbro heels, there's no way that they're going to stand up all the time. But in this case, I got her in this walking pose, right? So the idea is when she wore this in X-Men 97, she was in the kitchen, she was walking in, and she made this somewhat close to this pose while she was walking in, holding her arm out, talking to Gambit and I believe Cyclops. But yes, that's what I went for here. So you have to think about all of this stuff ahead of time, what pose you want and what the legs and arms and stuff are doing, because they still come in pieces. So you still have to glue them. You sand everything like normal, but glue them together and then place it, as you would as a modular unit, like you would for the action figures, but you glue it in place and you have to make sure that that pose is going to either again help them stand independently, or you'll be able to use a figure stand. Like in this case, there's no way she was going to stand up with her foot up like this and then the other foot also not making full contact onto the ground there. So a figure stand it is. Now the body composition for this is virtually the same, with some minor changes here or there from my other Rogue, the one that I just was talking about, the green and yellow. So instead of flats, she's got on these heels, which are the heels from this Moira, or from I think they're actually from the Jean Grey, the Marvel Girl costume, but it doesn't matter. They're the same thing. They're these types of heels, but then the legs, same deal. It doesn't matter what color they were, because what happens is now in this process, we're taking legs instead of the normal. In this case, these have pins in them. I took the leg, the knee, and the thigh, which not these thighs, but whatever thighs you're using, but no pins are in this. This is essentially pinless. So I glued the knee to the leg and then the top part of the knee to the thigh, and there was no pins in there, but I took epoxy sculpt and added sculpt to where the pins would be, or let's say the pins were, and just pressed it in there, smoothed it out. And also in the gap area where you can kind of see some of that there, where there would be a gap there for that articulation, I'm putting more epoxy sculpt and letting it cure and harden. It's basically like concrete, but all of that, even back here, would be filled in with epoxy sculpt. So sure, it doesn't look the most beautiful, right? It's not a professionally done sculpt. It is not, it's not sculpting a full leg from scratch. It's using existing parts and just kind of filling it in the best that I can. Again, it did not come out perfectly, but there's also the learning process. Like here, you can still see like some of the sculpt sticking out a little bit there. I try to smooth that out and try to, make it transition as naturally as it could look. But this is for my first attempt. I think it turned out okay. You can still see some of where the sculpt is right here, where I pushed through the hole. So the next time I'll try to do a little bit better and make it look even more flush and more natural. But yeah, that's the idea. Same thing with any other parts, is that just like the torso, the elbows and stuff like that, using sculpt to fill in any of the gaps areas that there would be from articulation. It is still glued together. Think about that pose that you're going to make it have beforehand, and then work little by little to make, you're not going to do it all at once, little by little, to get it all together. That being said, it wasn't the most important thing, but I did practice filling in sculpt. I'm not going to upskirt her on camera, but if this character didn't have a skirt on, I would have to fill in the gaps in the groin area anyway. So I did practice on this rogue. It didn't turn out perfectly, but I know what I did wrong, and I'll try to do this again and again, and eventually I'm going to have to get it right. So this was good practice for sculpting inside there. Despite that, the dress itself, I just sculpt all of her chest and all of this on. This is all epoxy sculpt, so it's all hard sculpt on there. That function of sculpting on here, I didn't do that perfectly because there's still a lot of action figure sculpting inside my head. And when I was doing this, like this line here, I should have just sculpted the entire dress all the way up her shoulders and past that, and then sculpted the black lines and stuff there, and that would have been the place to end the sculpting. But instead I ended it right below there. And so that's just the old mindset of trying to be conservative and trying to work it out, and I really should have just sculpted the entire thing. Regardless, it still turned out pretty nice. The arms are bodysuit arms from off of whatever Deadly Origins Black Widow, probably. So they already have some of this sculpted details for like the fabric ripples and stuff already there. And then the gloves are just regular hands painted black. The necklace is from Shikla. Shikla. She has like this double gold necklace with red balls on it. So I took off the double part and just made a regular necklace, and just cut all of that stuff off, and then remove the red paint from off of there. And you are all fuzzy. There we go. So, and lastly, this head sculpt. So this head sculpt is actually the first time I am using a 3D printed head sculpt on a custom. So I bought this about 2 months ago, and I was going to use it for the actual rogue for the green costume, but then I was like, no, I have all these other rogue heads, I need to really use them. So I decided to make this pink dress costume, to make it an X-Men 97. Love the sculpt of the hair, love the way it came out. Now I would tell you who I bought it from. I would like to encourage people to since I have an experience with certain buyers, whatever, if I had a positive experience with them, I would tell you who they were so you can buy for them. Unfortunately, I had a negative experience with them, so I don't want to recommend who it was, but there are multiple people that you can buy this exact head sculpt from on Etsy and eBay and Instagram and stuff like that. You'll have to look them up. I bought one from an eBay user, and like I said, I didn't have a great experience, so I won't recommend them. I will go more into that in my next video when I cover magic, because that's the one that I had the issues with, is the magic head sculpts that I was given to that from that person. Despite that, again, the sculpt still for this one was printed fairly well, and I painted it really really as nice as I could. I really like the hair color that came out with that, and yeah, that's it. Order of operations, I just finished painting this about 3 days ago, but I just finished putting this necklace on about 10 minutes before this video. So I had forgot to actually put this on before gluing the head down, so I had to cut it and then kind of finagle it on there from the front and glue it back together and twist it back around. So that just happened right before this recording. All right, time for the obligatory comparison. We have my custom Jim Lee X-Men versus Street Fighter Rogue on the left, and then we have the Target exclusive Rogue that came out, I don't remember, 2019, 2020, whatever it was, I don't know. I officially am replacing this in my collection with this one, and this is on sale right now. So the only thing that I wish is that I wish that I had extras. Actually, I technically do, but I've been selling Marvel Legends all summer. I sold one of these brand new in package a few months ago, and then I kept one, which is over there on the wall. That one's signed by David Nakayama, so I'm going to keep that one still in package. And then the other one is this one that I was still borderline wanting to take the jacket and the arms and the belt, because it is a lighter brown than this, and I really like this brown a lot, or this brown a lot more than this one, but I'd rather make the money and sell this than to fodder it and try to just salvage the jacket. But then another reason why I'm not salvaging it either is because this head sculpt, which I really do like a lot, doesn't work on this body. I mean, it fits on there, but not perfectly. So if it fit more perfectly, I would have just taken this head sculpt and just made a new body and popped this head on there and called it a day. That's what I was originally going to do, but it doesn't fit on there perfectly. It's a little too it just looks a little off, right? And it just this the way they fit, it doesn't fit on the Medusa Hellcat body. It's made for this Moonstone body. But other than that, this is still a better Rogue than I feel like the original one, like this one. I don't have this body anymore. This is all that remains, is this head sculpt that I still might use for something in the future, but I'm not 100% sure. And I don't have the X-Men 97 Rogue, which is the pinless one with the animated series looking face. I don't have that at all. So this is it. This is the new Rogue in my collection. This is on sale right now. All right, quick comparison. We have Gambit, the Target exclusive Gambit, with my custom Rogue and my custom Psylocke, Crimson Dawn, X-Men, Children of the Atom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Psylocke. Neat. Nothing to be said. They are both using the same body, basically, but the legs are different on these. Overall, they do look Rogue does look a little bit taller, but it's because her hair is a little thicker. But for the most part, Psylocke is taller, and she has more muscles. And then Gambit is Gambit. That's it. And another X-Men comparison. We have our X-Men 97 Cyclops with X-Men 97 Wolverine. Good height difference. that's it. I've been thinking about ordering a new head for Cyclops, a 3D printed one, just because I don't like the way that face looks at all. But yeah, that's about it. And last comparison of the day, we have our Jada Toys Ryu with our Jada Toys SDCC exclusive or con exclusive pink Chun-Li. I didn't want to grab the blue one because that one's a little bit more involved in my display and I didn't want to take it out. So this one will do just fine. But yeah, that's it. This one, like I said, this is my Marvel vs. Capcom Rogue, so she's going to be in that display. Whereas the X-Men 97 Rogue, this one is going to be with the actual X-Ladies back there, and all the other Rogue figures that I have to be part of the Rogue collection. I'm not necessarily sure if I'm done making Rogue figures because I don't have a lot of room and I don't have a lot of materials, so I want to move on to other characters before I run out of stuff, because as I've said previously, I want to get out of this game, so I don't want to keep buying stuff and make this a perpetual life thing of making customs. So that's it. Those are like the rogues that I want until other things come out or I have other desires. That'll do it for me for this character. Next up is Magic. Magic Ilyana Rasputin. I have already made that Ilyana Rasputin figure right there, and I had issues with it, so I'm gonna remake it again using some 3D printed heads. As I was mentioning earlier, I'll explain that story of what happened there, but I'm gonna remake that with 3D printed heads. And then I should hopefully be making a classic Magic as well, like a younger version, so modern and classic. And that'll be it for probably the year. But I will also do a follow-up video on Marvel vs. Capcom, which is all that stuff up there. So sorry, don't have the best lens in the world. But yeah, I will make a 2024 Marvel vs. Capcom update video. It won't be nearly as long as the last one, but it will be a yearly thing for me. So I will see you guys next time. Peace.